since the last time we spoke to you, you parted ways with Impact Wrestling. Can you explain what happened there? Just cutbacks? Or?
No, just, in wrestling, it's not a matter of when, it's a matter of, or I should say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your run's going to come up. It doesn't matter where you go, what territory, what company, you're going to have a finite amount of time in those particular places. I had a great run there, had a very decent one. Jeff Jarrett came back, brought in his own guys, which is not unusual for people to do. They've all done that for many, over decades in other companies, and in fact they do it in companies that aren't even wrestling related. New broom comes in, they bring in their own people and that they want to work with, and now there's fewer spots, and we parted ways. That was it.
Now, they had an issue with something you said about fans in the last shoot interview that we ended up taking off. Do you recall what that was?
God, no.
Okay.
What would it be?
You asked me to take it down. It was you had talked about fans and how it was misunderstood. Something and how you didn't like fans.
Oh, it is misunderstood that I don't like fans, or that I don't. It's misconstrued. Much like my comments on Dave Meltzer, or my comments on smart, quote unquote, smart fans. How everybody assumes that I don't like them, or I don't value them, which nothing could be further from the truth. I do value fans, and I tell fans all the time, thank you. When they come up and go, I'm a fan, I'm like, thank you very much, because if you weren't, I wouldn't be able to do what I've been able to do. I don't have a problem with that. I don't even have a problem with newsletters. I don't have a problem with anybody stating their opinion. You are completely free. If you buy a ticket to watch a show, you're completely free to state your opinion. What I have a problem with is the assumption that because you have access to information, that you now have as much knowledge as the people who actually perform it. That nothing can be further from the truth. Nothing can be further from the truth. In order to have real knowledge on a topic, because we live in a day and age of access to information. So unfortunately, people get a small piece, or even not even sometimes a small piece, to just extrapolate the information from assumption. And then they walk around and they expound their opinions in public forums as if it's actual knowledge. That's fine if they want to do that. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that you and the performers and the wrestlers and the bookers and the writers and whatever you want to call it that live in this wrestling bubble allow the vocal minority to dictate to you what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, and you no longer market yourselves to the general audience. You now market yourself just to the vocal minority. And as long as you please them, as long as they write a good report about you, you're happy. The minute that they write a scathing report saying that you suck, you're terrible, you're bad, you're a mess, you don't know what to do. And there's nothing can be more ridiculous. That's like, I love medicine. That's my favorite hobby. I don't miss a single medical show. I watch House, I watch ER, I watch The Doctors, I watch Dr. Oz, I watch Dr. Kildare, I even watch back episodes on YouTube. I go on the internet and I go on the New England Journal of Medical Science, which is basically the equivalent of the Wrestling Observer of medicine. And I read it every day. And I go on websites that give me inside information on hospitals and doctors' lives. If I get sick, should I tell the doctor how to fix me? Why not?
Because you're not a doctor.
Oh, really? Guess what the fans aren't? They're not wrestlers. But you guys allow it. And you encourage it. And you change what you do and why you do it just to please that little group as opposed to trying to please. It's no different than we're going to have opinions, fan bases are going to have opinions on comic book movies. But if you were going to invest $200 million in Black Panther, would you be more concerned about selling more than $200 million of tickets, or would you be more concerned about just having a critical review?
I would want to make my money back.
Really, that's funny, because most people in wrestling would want to too, I would assume. But now these days, they're more concerned with the critical review. And that, you know, just like producing a comic book movie, you have a fan base that's vocal, of a minority that have read the comic books, know the characters, are already invested in them. Do you produce the movie just to appeal to them? Or do you produce a movie that appeals to them but also draws in an audience that's never once picked up a comic book?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then why do you produce wrestling where it just appeals to wrestling fans and not to a general audience that like wrestling, but they're not invested in it? They don't watch it every week. They don't go on the internet and read reports or news sites about it. They just flip through the channels and see something that compels them to watch. Why do you produce the opposite? And that's my problem. It's not with Dave Meltzer or with Wade Keller or newsletters in general or with the fans or their interest. I think it's fantastic that they're so passionate and they care so much about what they love to watch. It's when those small groups of people, and I've been on shows where they try to hijack the show, or they end up hijacking the show, not even why they do it in the audience, but via their reports and their remarks and things like that. Always remember, and this is a true fact, familiarity breeds contempt. And the more that we allow the fans to become familiar with the product, the more contemptuous they become of it. To the point to where, how many people do you know that watch Raw every week, complain about it incessantly, and then watch it the very next week? And then complain about it incessantly, and then watch it the next week. You know? It's taken the fun out for them. Where if they were to go back and just be fans again and not try to second guess or outthink because of their familiarity with the product, what's being done. And that I guess, and this will be the last thing I'll say about it, is the biggest thing is that as a fan, you have to understand, no one match lives on its own. They're not in a bubble. A lot of these matches that are under, Martin Scorsese just recently made a comment about Rotten Tomatoes, because the cinema has the same thing. You know, Rotten Tomatoes is making judgments for an audience before they even get to the theater to watch a film. And a lot of these vocal minority of the wrestling fans are doing the very same thing without taking into context that wrestling match doesn't live in a bubble. That wrestling match, if it's done with the right idea, has some kind of forethought to it, and it's a singular chapter, or sometimes it's a singular paragraph in an overall story that you don't see the whole picture, but you're now judging it just on that one singular event, as opposed to it's now playing a part in a direction that's going to build to a much bigger and much more satisfying end. And that fans need to kind of keep that in mind, and the people that are performing it need to keep that in mind too, you know, and not live and die by just the critique.